Alright, I know nothing about chess. I mean, I kinda know what pieces can go where, but I mean, I am nowhere close to actually like sitting down and playing a game and just knowing where everything goes. Watching this show definitely made me want to learn though, but really the reason I finally watched this show, well, there are actually a couple reasons. One, I heard it was really good, so there's that. Two, Anya Taylor-Joy, because I'm completely infatuated with her, and well, that's pretty much it. The Queen's Gambit. So The Queen's Gambit is a miniseries on Netflix. It's based off a book that I'm actually curious about reading now. The story takes place mostly in the 60s. I mean, it starts off a little bit in the 50s, but mostly in the 60s. Our main character is a girl named Beth Harmon, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. She was orphaned at a young age, and while growing up in an orphanage, she discovers the game of chess. And she finds out that not only is she good, but she's really, really good. And so The Queen's Gambit is the story of her growing up, getting better and better at chess, competing in tournaments, and eventually aiming to be the best chess player in the world. And the reason I didn't watch this when it first came out last year is because I was like, oh, well, it's about chess. How interesting can it be, really? It's a drama, you know? It's not the fun, fast-paced action that I normally like to watch. But you know what? Anya Taylor-Joy is hosting SNL this weekend, so I figured I might as well finally watch this. Plus, I still want her to play Nessa Rose in the upcoming Wicked movie, and I just want to know more about her filmography in general. So I spent the past week watching this show. I watched one episode per night, and I just have to say, after it was all said and done, this has to be among the best miniseries I have ever seen in my life. Yeah, this miniseries is completely great. First off, Anya Taylor-Joy. Everything you heard about her in this show is true. She completely takes it. I mean, she won the Golden Globe for it. Need I say more? I mean, let's get this out of the way. You know that I'm completely in love with her if you've been subscribed to me for a while, and this miniseries did nothing to change that fact. Seriously, I mean, I can stare at that face all day long. Oh my goodness. She's just one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen on a screen. But really, watching this show, it's Beth Harmon's character that you get attached to. Just seeing how her mind works, you assess that she has to be on the spectrum somewhere. The fact that she can look up at the ceiling and visualize chess games, yeah, like you see pieces moving on the ceiling. Right there, you're like, okay, she's autistic in some way, shape, or form. And as the series goes on, you see that she becomes completely addicted to this game. Her world is a chessboard. Chess is her life and her love. It's all she ever wants to talk about, which is great. She'll be socializing with people, and you get the feeling that if someone wants to talk about something other than chess, she's just not interested. The game of chess is all she needs in life. And that is partially because she's really good at it. It's funny, like in the first half of the miniseries, she's so good, she's slaughtering everyone she goes up against. That comes through in the dialogue sometimes, it's pretty funny. She'll make some like remark. Her reputation starts building up because she is in a mostly male-dominated field. You know, this is the 1960s, so the world of competitive chess is mostly dominated by guys. So she'll be doing interviews like, how does it feel to be a girl in this mostly male-dominated world? But Beth Harmon doesn't really look at it that way. It doesn't really matter that she's a girl, what matters is that she's a good chess player. The fact that she's a girl, well, that's just a nice little bonus. But getting back to the confidence thing, because I mean, there's a point where like she sits down at a table, she's about to play her chess match, she introduces herself to her opponent, she's like, hi, I'm Beth Harmon. And the guy simply goes, shit. And then the next thing you know, she's handing in her win slip. Yeah, that was hilarious. I love that. Yeah, this show has that kind of snappy dialogue. And another great thing about this show is that the chess matches themselves, they're totally intense. When Beth Harmon and someone else are playing a chess match and, you know, they're hitting the timer, the way it's shot, the way it's paced, I was totally sucked into it every time. It's as intense as any big action scene could be. Because you're just like, oh, I hope she wins. I hope she knows what she's doing. You want to root for Beth Harmon every time. It was really surprising how much these chess matches really sucked me into it. Because of course, later on in the miniseries, she discovers that she is not the only amazing chess player in the world. There are some grandmasters out there, and when she goes up against them, yeah, that's like nail-biting stuff. But of course, this miniseries is more than about just chess. It's about Beth Harmon's life, her family, or sometimes lack thereof. She does eventually get adopted from the orphanage, and her adoptive mother, Alma Wheatley, played by Marielle Heller, is another great character in the show. When she discovers that her new daughter has this affinity for chess, she's completely supportive. There's a real bond there, you feel it, and that's another thing you root for, is this relationship between Beth and her adoptive mother. And Benny. Yeah, Benny is another character worth mentioning. He's another great chess player that Beth ends up meeting. There are a few of them, but Benny is the one that stands out. Because he's really snarky, he's kind of cocky. The way he carries himself, you know, he's got his big long coat and his cowboy hat. He's got swagger, is the word I'm looking for. And the relationship he builds with Beth is actually pretty funny, because Beth knows that she is hot shit. And so guys, throughout the miniseries, they keep throwing themselves at her. And sure, she is open to the possibility of a romance, maybe eventually. But you just know that first and foremost, her true love in life is the game of chess. And no man will ever sate her the way chess does. Now that is a girl who knows what she wants in life. My kind of woman. One of the things that makes this show completely immersive is that they use chess jargon. When Beth is talking with other people about chess, they're talking about things like, oh, this person moved pawn to king 4. They use the Sicilian defense. And I was just sitting there like, I have no idea what they're talking about. But that's how you do it, you know? If you want to immerse the audience into this world, you have to talk about the world how people who live in that world would talk about the world. You have to talk about chess the way that chess players talk about chess. What I'm getting at is that I appreciate that they didn't dumb it down for those of us who don't know anything about chess. It's like the show was like, alright, you don't know anything about chess? Well, look it up, bitch. Learn to play it, then you'll know. But also the fact that you don't have to be a chess expert to enjoy the show. Yeah, I didn't get the specific chess jargon they were talking about, but I got the fact that Beth is really passionate about the game, she wants to win, and she's going over strategies to beat her opponents. That's all I really needed to know, and it completely succeeded in immersing me in this world of competitive chess. And then there's the drug addiction. Yeah, Beth Harmon also has to deal with a drug and alcohol addiction, and that does take up a good chunk of time in this miniseries, but I do appreciate that it doesn't take up all the time. It doesn't really just take over an episode, you know? Because that would have brought it down for me. I mean, the show does feel like a downer at times. There are points where you're like, oh man, Beth is just at her lowest low. It sucks. No spoilers or anything. But I mean, each episode of this miniseries has its kind of depressing element. I mean, just from the color tone alone, it's all desaturized in a kind of Zack Snyder-ish way. And it did bother me at first. I was like, this lighting is just not natural at all. And I really don't know why the show was desaturized. I guess to better fit the mood of the show, and that does work. It helps you take it more seriously, which helps out the emotional tone of the show. You want to know what else helps out the tone of the show? The production design of everything. From the cinematography, to the wardrobe, to the lighting, to the soundtrack. There's just more elements that make you feel like you are in this world of the 1960s. You can tell when you're watching this miniseries that love was put into this. The showrunners really cared about this story, the character of Beth Harmon, and the world she was living in. They wanted to tell this story right, and in my opinion, they most certainly did. Now, as for the score in this show, it was pretty good. I don't think I'm gonna get the soundtrack, maybe the end credits music, because that was pretty cool. But I mean, of course, the tone of the music really fits in the show, especially during the chess matches. It certainly helped make them feel more intense. So in the end, The Queen's Gambit, like I said, has to be among the best miniseries I've ever seen in my life. You become completely engrossed in this world of competitive chess, and in the character of Beth Harmon. You care about her, you care about her life, her relationships. You want her to get through this journey in one piece. I mean, this has to be the most interesting story about chess I've ever seen on a screen, and I want to watch this series again. I really do. The world is immersive. You're just in it from start to finish. There was never a moment where I felt bored in this show, and that right there, that is a show worth loving. So, The Queen's Gambit, have you watched it? What do you think about it? And what is your opinion on Anya Taylor-Joy as an actress? I'm curious. Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.